Do you know what you're talking about? I'm the empress who rules over the 12-star Luo temples, while you're a devil disciple who can barely even cultivate. Do you think it's really possible? Chu Qingyue's temples all the way up to the roots of her ears were covered in a haze of red, just like the sunset that spilled over the land at sunset, making her look extremely touching. Nie Chen had long since realized that he had been pushed to the brink. There were only two ways to end up confessing to the empress. Either he would fail and be chopped to pieces by those cultivators guarding the outside, or he could only take the empress down and fight for that one and only chance of survival. Nie Chen made a generous statement, generously blurting out with genuine affection. So what if there's a difference between righteousness and devilry? So what if there's a gap in identity? Since I, Nie Chen, dared to barge into the heavenly cloud hall alone, I am putting life and death at risk, and only want to exhaust every opportunity to personally deliver this letter to you. Even if I die as a result, I definitely won't have the slightest bit of regret. Hearing these words, Chu Qingyu's heart felt as if it had been struck by an invisible arrow. Moreover, the shape of the arrow's tail was none other than the shape of a heart. There were also mountainous oaths for love in the book, but she had never heard of anyone being able to face love so resolutely. She was even willing to disregard the relative identities of the righteous and the devil, and disregard her own life for this reason. If this was all true, how should she face it? Unconsciously, Chu Qingyue's mind became even more disorganized as she quietly looked towards Nie Chen. Hair like black jade, elegant, a black suit gently fluttering with the clouds and mist within the hall, sword eyebrows and starry eyes burning, obviously as a devil's sidekick, but all righteousness and vigor. Even if it is just about appearance alone, it can also be far away from those so-called son of heavenly pride street. More importantly, in those eyes, Chu Qingyu felt a blazing sincerity. Do you, really, prefer to spare your life for me? Chu Qingyu pursed her lips lightly, and this time, her words revealed a tangled knot that was hard to hide. The entangled heartstrings were being opened up a little, and the color in her eyes had long since been completely different from back then. Nie Chen had already noticed Chu Qingyu's change, and was very clear that success or failure was at stake, either take down the Qingyu Empress, or be hacked to smithereens by the group of guys outside. The two paths had been laid out in front of one's eyes, and whether one lived or died depended on this thought. Without giving, how could one reap the rewards? Nie Chen's gaze was resolute. Naturally, my love for the Empress is like the unending flow of water, and it will never change until the sea runs dry. If the Empress doesn't believe me, I'm willing to use my own life to show my determination. As soon as the words fell, there was a clanging sound. Nie Chen didn't hesitate to pull out the sword at his waist and put it on his neck, and with the force in his hand, a strand of fresh blood flowed down the blade, and it looked like it was about to cut through his neck. Stop! At this moment, that last line of defense in Chu Qingyu's heart completely disintegrated. If there was a person, all righteous and dignified, who broke into the heavenly cloud palace alone, only to deliver the love letter to his hands. For this reason, he disregarded life and death, and did not hesitate to die to express his true feelings. What does it matter if such a person is a disciple of the devil sect or not? Love began with contradictions, and perhaps, love was supposed to be so absurd. A golden light burst out from Chu Qingyu's hand, knocking the sword blade that was slipping away. Empress? Nie Chen looked at Chu Qingyu in shock. Enough, if you really love me as much as you say you do, I'll just agree. At this moment, Chu Qingyu no longer dared to look Nie Chen squarely in the eyes. It only felt like her cheeks were becoming red and hot, and she couldn't suppress it no matter what. An inexplicable emotion surged through her heart, causing her to be unable to say whether she was happy, shy, or at a loss for words. Many thanks to Empress Qingyu. Nie Chen immediately kicked the fallen sword aside and quickly came to Chu Qingyu's side, and with that, deeply embraced that delicate body in his arms. I'm only promising for the time being, so don't give me an inch. With Chu Qingyu's strength, it was clear that a slap could send Nie Chen flying several hundred meters, yet she only lightly moved her body, barely breaking free from Nie Chen's arms. I'm sorry Empress, I just didn't think I could actually pull it off either. Nie Chen also hurriedly collected his emotions and regained a sense of decency. Listen, there are still countless righteous cultivators guarding outside. If you rashly do anything disrespectful to me for them to see, I can't guarantee what will happen to you. Chu Qingyu's cheeks were crimson, and it was no longer possible to know whether it was a threat or shyness. I understand, Empress. Nie Chen immediately agreed. Don't call me Empress, you had the courage to come to the Heavenly Cloud Palace without fearing life and death. Now that you've succeeded in your confession, you still don't dare to call me by my true name? Then what should I call? Chu Qingyu? No, Qingyu is enough. Above the skin that was dyed all haze red, a few beads of crystalline sweat were secreted out due to excessive nervousness. Nie Chen couldn't help but smile. So it turned out that fairies could also sweat. However, it seemed that even these sweat drops were lotus-like and refreshing. Congratulations to the host for successfully raiding the Empress. The host will receive a system gift pack. The system's voice suddenly rang out, followed by a series of big gift packages. System Reward I, Xian Ancient Sacred Body. System Reward 2, Heaven and Earth Chi Luck, 10 times. System Reward 3, Randomized Lucky Draw times, 1. Nietzsche took a closer look at the specifics of the system. Random draws were able to take any one thing from the system mall at random, with heavenly rank spirit pills, emperor rank divine artifacts, and all sorts of gongfu spirit medicines available. Although there were also inferior items of lower grades, the vast majority of them were incomparably precious treasures. With a little bit of luck, one would definitely not lose. The heaven and earth chi luck was able to allow one to be favored by heaven and earth for a short period of time, and although it was only 10 times, it was extremely useful. As for the Xiangu saint body, it was even more subtle and precious. A person with the Xiangu holy body would emit a unique aura of the great Tao. This aura came with a seductive effect, and for the opposite sex with unstable Tao hearts, it was even able to directly capture each other's hearts. The moment Niechen's body transformed into the Xiangu saint body, Chu Qingyu, whose face was already tainted by a haze of red, suddenly trembled lightly, her autumn eyes blurring. For some reason, in an instant, her already unstable Tao heart began to become more and more wavering. In her eyes, Niechen, who was already graceful and extraordinary, had become even more heroic at the moment. If it wasn't for the fact that Chu Qingyu had been single for more than 600 years and had experienced countless desperate situations of life and death, the foundation of her Tao heart was far beyond anyone else's comparison. I'm afraid that, almost, she would have been completely attracted to Niechen's Xian ancient saint body. Phew. Chu Qingyu took a long breath and lightly pursed her delicate lips that were as soft and tender as cherry blossoms, finally calming her mood for the time being. Her delicate fingers were as light as cotton candy against Niechen's chest, her complexion carrying a few complicated emotions. Listen, although I promised you, there are still some things I need to tell you.